I have a daughter who's 18. She's at college. I'm a single mother. We have had a beautiful relationship for many, many years. I have guided her, taught her to the best of my ability, both in this life, and I know we've been together in past lives. This past year, I've had to let her go, and she has had to let me go so that she can experience her path on her own. I cannot walk her path for her. I can give her the tools and the guidance and the wisdom and everything on my journey that I could pay forward, but I know she needs to do it on her own. And it was a tumultuous last year of separating these identities and allowing her as well as allowing myself. The struggle comes from that identity of allowing her to be free as well as myself to be free and not have that co-identity so fused. And I think the hardest thing I've ever had to do was love her enough to let go and love myself enough to let go.
Here's the thing. While you did let go physically, in other words, she went and you didn't, and so there's a physical difference. But the vibrational difference hasn't changed very much, and that's why you're still struggling and suffering from it. And so we're just going to ask you a few questions that will help you feel better. And we are so appreciative of this conversation because you represent so many people in so many relationships. So here's the first question, and these are not difficult answers at all, and no traps going on here. So we just want you to relax and enjoy the lifting of vibration that will happen in you as you answer these questions. So can you see now that even though you didn't mean to, that for a lot of years you tried to replace your daughter's inner being and guidance system with you?
Can you repeat that?
We'll ask it in a different way. Same
Please.
question, but it'll be easier to hear. Since you've lived more life and you had more experience and you knew what pitfalls could be out there, and you love your daughter and you want to protect her, and so can you see how you wanted very much to guide your daughter, because you didn't even know about your own inner being through much of that, and you certainly didn't know about hers. So out of your care and love for her, you wanted her to listen to you, and so you were able to guide her through a reasonable and in a few cases unreasonable physical control of her behavior. She pretty much did what you wanted her to do, because it was the path of least resistance for her to do what you wanted her to do, because you made life pretty miserable if she didn't do what you wanted her to do. And so she felt quite a bit of freedom when she got outside your reach.
And that is exactly what I wanted for her, because my guidance system has always been the universe for decades. And so what I realized I was doing is that I was actually giving her that guidance, but she needed to experience that firsthand experience, not just through me.
Really, really good. So now we want to talk about the push-pull in you, because it feels to you that this conversation is about you and her.
No, it's probably about me, because I know vibrationally.
You introduced her into this conversation, so you, to some extent, think that it's the relationship between you and your daughter, because that's what you sat down to talk about first. But really, now we want you to feel, it's really good, you're getting way out ahead of us, and that's a really good thing too. We want you to, for a moment, focus upon the push-pull that's going on inside you, and just acknowledge that it's not about her, it's just about you.
It is. It's completely about me, because I miss her. Vibrationally, I know that I have to let her go and support her in spirit from afar and love, and just keep sending that energy. But from this plain human experience, emotionally, that emotional system, there's a missing, there's a longing.
We know all of that, and we know that that's what
I knew you would know. That's why I'm here.
We know that you think that that's what it is, but it isn't. Everything that you feel, even though there's a subject like a daughter away at school that feels like it's the sore spot. That feels like that's the sore spot because when you touch that spot, it's sore. So it feels like that's the sore spot. But what the true sore spot is that you've got words coming from you and a vibration coming from you that don't match. So it's your own push-pull going on within you, not about her. So we're just going to identify some of it and see if you can't relate to it. Your words say, I wanted to let her go. I wanted to release her into her own creative experience so that she could be her own person and discover life. And I know that satisfaction only really comes from intending and discovering. And so I want all of that for her because I love her so much. You've said that and things like it over and over and over again. But your vibration is saying she's not really ready for this, and it's going to be hard for her, and I don't want it to be hard for her, and I would like to soften the journey for her, and I would like to be the buffer that sort of prevents her from having to have any discomfort. So your words say, you're ready, go and be free, and your vibration says, you're not ready for this. And it's that push-pull that's going on within you. So leave her out of the equation. We don't care what you say to her ever again. That's not what this conversation is about. We don't mean that we don't care. We mean that it's not relevant to this conversation.
There's a root that you're getting to that I know you're getting.
What we want you to practice the vibration of until you own it and know it. A belief is just a thought you continue to think until you have come into harmony with your own inner being about this person.
May I share a truth about this?
In a minute. Your inner being says, oh, there's a lot. Your inner being says, this girl is intuitive. She's tuned in a good deal of the time. She's responsive to her own guidance system. She's feeling her way. She's finding her way. She has very infrequent bouts of insecurity. She's finding her autonomy. She is in love with life. She feels frisky and whole. She wakes up with an eagerness. That's what your inner being knows about her and more. We could spend the whole rest of the day just giving you the list of what your inner being knows about her. When you find thoughts that are contrary to that, which you do frequently, then that's that push-pull that's going on in you, because your inner being knows how strong she is, and you, and this isn't a bad thing, sort of enjoyed some of her weakness because it made room for you in her life. Every mother in the world likes that. Please be insecure so that I can shore you up. Let our bond be about what's missing in you but present in me. And while it might feel good here and there and here and there, if you really get carried away with that, there will come a time that your sweet girl will harmonize so fully with her inner being that you will feel irrelevant. And that is the blessing you're waiting for.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. I want her to fly. I want
Words.
her. Huh?
Words.
I get it. I get it. I get it. There's a flip side to this, Abraham, and that is the last year especially, it's been a very tumultuous relationship with her, to the point where the vibration was so toxic and negative, and the dis-ease that it was causing me, and that tumultuous relationship with her, that I had to detach from my own well-being and create healthy boundaries in which she resists, because I'm always there for her and Mom is always there. But by doing, excuse me, just one second, by me doing that, I'm so sorry, because this is the crux of it. How do you detach from your own child to maintain your own well-being? And I don't want that, and that's where me coming up and sitting in this chair is because this is my child, and the toxicity and the heaviness and the negative energies is creating dis-ease with me. What do I do?
You're not feeling all of this negative because you've detached. You're feeling all of this negative because you need to detach and haven't. And here's the piece. This is the piece.
I love that. I love that.
This is the piece that will really soothe and satisfy you in this, is that you're not letting go of her. You're handing her off to her higher power. So you're not saying, I'm letting you go into oblivion, good luck. You're saying, I'm turning you over to your higher power, and I've witnessed in all of the days of your life your ability to hear your higher power, to know your higher power. And so my dysfunction here is that I practiced being your higher power for so long that it's hard for me to let go and not be your higher power. You've been saying, Mom, don't be my higher power. She hasn't said those words. And then it gets all complicated with all this stuff, like the stuff that you were saying to us. We tried to shut you down, but you didn't want us to shut you down. You wanted to keep saying it.
I'm totally owning this, yes. Yes, you're awesome.
You're not in a different situation than almost anybody else. It's not an easy thing. You see, you all do this to each other. When you are pleased by others, and so you perform for their pleasure, you replace them with your inner being. And a lot of you do that because you want the reward of approval, and so you stand on your head to get the reward of approval. But what you do is you train the people from whom you are getting the approval that they need to keep giving you the approval. You make them worry about your stability without them. So that's one side of it. But the other side of it is you look to others for their approval. So not only are you trying to get approval from them, you're trying to give them approval. In other words, you're all trying to be inner beings for each other, and it never ever works out. It always leads to some form of resentment. And so finally, when you step back into a sort of clear space, which is where many of you were during this conversation here, and you acknowledge, in my love for my daughter, the thing that I want more than all other things put together is her knowledge and ability to connect with her own guidance system. And I've decided to get out of the way of that. It doesn't mean I'm not going to compliment her. This is what it means from your standpoint. It means you're going to talk to her as much as you can, and you're going to say as many things with your mouth into her ears as you can, but only when you know for absolute certain that you're in concert with your own inner being. Only then. You're never going to talk to her from dysfunction, which is begging her back into your life. You're never going to talk to her from your dysfunction, which is then accusing her of something that isn't even true. So you're going to talk to her really, really often, but you're going to make sure you're tuned in, tapped in, turned on first. And in the process, because there's not going to be so much push-pull in your vibration, she'll reach out to you only when you're in tune. What's been happening is when you get most out of whack and she is most out of whack, that's when you come together. And then you say to each other, we can't stand each other. We've got to get apart from each other because we're toxic. You're not toxic. You're both just disconnected from source energy and using that as your platform or your moment in time of behavior. And almost everyone in this room is doing something just like that with someone, if not all ones.
Agreed. It's very difficult to go into a different frequency if you're tapped in, turned on.
You can't do it in the middle of it, but here's a game you can play. You're not with her because she's in a whole other place, and so even though you've separated in terms of physicality, you've not separated in terms of vibrations because you have a lot of thoughts about her. Of course you would. Of course you would. Of course you would, and you want to. So a thought comes into your mind that doesn't set right with you. The moment you catch that thought, sit down and write 10 positive aspects, either of the other person or of the situation or of yourself. And if each time you catch yourself in the early stage of that toxic possible momentum, if you catch yourself in the early stage and make a list of 10 positive aspects, or 1 or 2 or 3 if that's all you can find, what will happen is your vibration about this will acquiesce, harmonize, resonate with the source within you. And the more you do that, then the less push and pull there is between you and you. And the less push and pull there is between you and you, then the problem evaporates. Because the only problem has ever been the push-pull going on between you and you. Here's a fun game that you could play. Every time you're mad at someone, say, I am so mad at my inner being. Wait, how can that be? I'm at odds with my daughter. No, you're not. I'm at odds with my inner being. I'm at odds with myself. I'm at odds with my true desire. I'm at odds with what life has caused me to become. I'm at odds with my expanded self. I'm at odds with my total being. That's who you're at odds with. This poor person is just stumbled in as a cooperative component. And they're not blameless. They are a cooperative component. But you have no control over what any of them are doing and complete control over what you are doing. Can you hear that? And so when you give them the control, that's why you don't like them. I gave you control and you didn't fix this.